This is going to be a continuation of the Impromptu Black History Month. Now, in my past two previous videos, I covered the definition of what the word black means, and I also covered how the so-called white man changed everybody's nationality or race on this planet and started calling them everything under the sun other than what their biblical nationality is. I also covered how everyone on this planet has a biblical nationality. And no matter how far you try to run from it, you cannot run from your biblical nationality. Okay? I also covered how you so-called Black, Latino, and Native Indians. And when I say Latino, I mean you Latinos of the northern tribe, which will be the Dominicans, the Guatemalans, Panamanians, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, the so-called Native Indians, the Seminole Indians, Colombians, Uruguayans, Argentinians, Chileans, and Mexicans. You are of the Latino tribes, and you are all Israelites of the nation of Israel. Okay? And then the ones who are being called black will be Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Well, no, the Levi, Levi. Okay, so, we're not black, okay? There's no such thing as a physically black person. We are different shades of brown. Now, there is a such thing as a spiritually black person, and I also covered that in my last video. So I am going to continue on with the lesson now. This is the book of Deuteronomy. Now, the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter and the 15th verse on down, goes into the curses that will come upon the Israelites, which are the so-called Black, Latino, and Native Indians. Oh, and let me just say this real quick. The reason why I say so-called Black, and the reason why I say so-called Latinos, and the reason why I say so-called Native Indians, is because those are bywords and proverbs that was put upon us. Okay, so-called, because that's what we were called, but that's not our biblical nationality. That's why we say so-called Black, Latino, and Native Indians. Because Black, Latino, or Native Indian, those are bywords and proverbs that were put upon us. Okay? Black, African American, West Indian, Haitian, Dominican, Guatemalan, Panamanian, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Native Indian, Seminole Indian, Colombian, Uruguayan, Argentinian, Chilean, and Mexican. Those are all bywords and proverbs that were put upon us. Okay? We are so called of these things. Why? Because these are bywords and proverbs that were put upon us. But African, American, Black, West Indian, Haitian, Dominican, Guatemalan, Panamanian, Puerto Rican, Cuban, North American Indian, Seminole Indian, Colombian, Uruguayan, Argentinian, Chilean, and Mexican, those are not our biblical nationalities. Okay? Our biblical nationality is that we are Israelites from our respective tribes. So if you're a so-called black person, you will be from the tribe of Judah. If you're a Jamaican or a West Indian, you will be from the tribe of Benjamin. If you are a Haitian, you will be from the tribe of Levi. If you are a Dominican, you will be from the tribe of Simeon. If you are a Guatemalan or a Panamanian, you will be from the tribe of Zebulon. If you are a Puerto Rican, you will be from the tribe of Ephraim. If you are a Cuban, you will be from the tribe of Manasseh. If you are a Native Indian, you will be from the tribe of Gad. If you are a Seminole Indian, you will be from the tribe of Reuben. If you are Colombian or Uruguayan, you will be from the tribe of Asher. If you are Argentinian or Chilean, you will be from the tribe of Naphtali. If you are Mexican, you will be from the tribe of Issachar. And Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Simeon, Zebulun, Ephraim, Manasseh, Gad, Reuben, Asher, and Naphtali, and Issachar, these are the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Okay? So that's why I say so-called Black, Latino, or Native Indian. Because our true biblical nationalities is that we are Israelites. And Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter and the 15th verse on down, goes into the curses that will come upon the Israelites if they did not keep the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Heavenly Father and His Son. The law, statutes, and commandments which was given only to our nation. So Deuteronomy 28 verse 37, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword. Now, let's look up the definition for proverb and byword, okay? Let's see. Thou shalt become an astonishment. Let's see. Okay, sentences of ethical wisdom, ethical maxims. Ethical maxims. Let's look this up real quick. Ethical maxims. What is ethical maxims? Okay, so I'm looking for here, but it's probably not here. No. Well, you know what? You can also say a parable, right? Because what are parables normally used for? A parable is something that is used to substitute a dark saying or a phrase to keep something hidden from somebody. Like in the book of Matthew, right? When Yahushua's disciples came to him, right? They said, "Why speakest thou unto them in parables?" So a parable will be like a dark saying or a dark statement. You know, when you speak in parables, you speak in a way that goes over somebody's head to where they don't understand. So to call somebody black when they're not really black, that will be a parable. Because a parable is a statement, a phrase, a word, or a name that is used to substitute something for something else. To keep somebody in the dark from the truth. So if you want to keep somebody in the dark from the truth, you would use a parable. Okay, like for an example, you know, you would say that when the wicked is taken out of rulership, the trees rejoice. Now, is it talking about actual trees rejoicing? No. The trees would metaphorically be talking about people of color, people who have brown skin. Because what color are trees? Trees are brown, right? Now, the average person, when they hear the word tree, the first thing that's going to come to their mind is an actual tree. But they have no idea that you are speaking about people when you say trees. So that's an example of a parable. A parable is a phrase, a statement, or a word, or a name that is used to substitute something for something else, to keep somebody in the dark from the truth. So to be called a Mexican when you're not really a Mexican, you're really a Issacharite of the nation of Israel, the name Mexican will be a parable that was put upon you. To be called black when you're not really black, you're really an Israelite from the tribe of Judah. To be called black, that's a parable that was put upon you. You see? To be called Jamaican or West Indian, when you're really an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin. To be called a Jamaican or a West Indian, that's a parable that was put upon you. To be called a Haitian, when you're not really a Haitian, you're an Israelite from the tribe of Levi. To be called a Haitian, that's a parable that was put upon you. Okay? So, and Lord's will, I'm going to do a separate video on this verse. But It says, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, a parable, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. So we became an astonishment, we became a parable and a byword. So if you want to know why, when you fill out an application, you have to lie and tell your boss that you're black when you're not. You got to lie and tell your higher manager that you're a Jamaican when you're not. You have to lie and tell your higher manager that you're a Mexican when you're not. You got to lie and tell your higher manager that you're Puerto Rican when you're not. If you're wondering why you have to do these things, it's because we're under the curses. Okay? That's why we got to tell these nations. That's why these nations see us as being black when we're not black. Okay? And thou shalt become an astonishment and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. Okay? Whither the Lord shall lead thee. Okay? Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 4. And thou even thyself, this pertains to the Israelites. Okay? This is a future prophecy. This was considered a future prophecy during the time of Jeremiah. And this very verse right here is still in effect. However, we are coming back to our nationality. You see? So it says, and thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee. Okay? And I will cause thee. So the Lord said that the nation of Israel would discontinue from their heritage, which the Lord has given them. And what's our heritage? Our heritage is that we are Israelites. Okay? So we discontinued from that. And when did we discontinue from the heritage that we are Israelites? During the time of slavery. Because during the time of slavery, our nationality was beaten out of us. Whenever we called ourselves Judah, Benjamin, Levi, whenever we were caught reading the Bible, what would happen? They would hang us by our hands from a tree, and they would whip us on our backs until we started calling ourselves by whatever the slave master wanted us to call ourselves. So if we called ourselves Judah or Gad or Naphtali, they would continually whip us on the back until we were forced to call ourselves by whatever the slave master wanted us to call ourselves. You see? And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in a land which thou knowest not. Right, because prior to slavery, right, when we were living over there in Africa, in the western parts of Africa, we didn't know anything about America. So when we were brought over here, we ended up serving our enemies in a land which we didn't know about. Why? For ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. Right, because we did not do what the Lord said. We disobeyed the word of the Most High.